The award for Star Trek's dumbest redshirt death goes to a forgotten character from J.J. Abrams' 2009 movie. The average Star Trek redshirt is known for having a non-existent sense of danger and the physical fortitude of a wet Oreo, but that's nothing compared to Olsen from J.J. Abrams' 2009 movie reboot. While the term is now used broadly across movies and TV, redshirt originated wholly because of Star Trek. The original 1960s series faced a dilemma. Characters needed to die to make the bad guys look bad, but Star Trek's main cast members were clad head to toe in plot armor to navigate this issue. The likes of Captain Kirk and Spock would typically be accompanied by Enterprise security personnel during their adventures. Said security officers would routinely get killed off before long, and usually wore red shirts as per Starfleet uniform regulations. Hence, the red shirt was born, and the term can now refer to any fictional character introduced primarily for the purpose of dying. Red shirts exist in Star Trek's Kelvin timeline too, and if Olsen was any indication, are even more hapless than their Prime Universe counterparts. More often than not, a Star Trek redshirt dies simply because they stand in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Sometimes they might wander too close to a concealed enemy or get a little overzealous with their phaser. On many occasions, the redshirt will simply have the misfortune of being sent into an unexplored area ahead of Captain Kirk and the higher-ranking Enterprise officers. Olsen from Star Trek's 2009 movie was a breed apart. Not only was his death entirely avoidable, Olsen himself was the singular cause. The doomed redshirt somehow managed to die with zero interference from alien enemies, deadly flowers, exploding rocks, or rogue blobs. An easily forgettable character, Olsen was the third member of the Enterprise's diving party on Vulcan. He joined Chris Pine's Kirk and John Cho's Sulu, parachuting down to a platform surrounding Nero's drill. Olsen, of course, never reached said platform, as the tragic engineer opted not to release his parachute until the final few meters. Inevitably, Olsen crashed too hard onto the metal structure and quickly got himself incinerated by the drill's engine. Why Olsen isn't the average Star Trek redshirt finally, Olsen didn't just release the parachute a fraction later than Kirk and Sulu. He waited so long that a safe landing became almost a mathematical impossibility. Kirk himself is a renowned risk-taker in Star Trek's various movies and TV shows, and notoriously loves a good time, but even he knew not to take chances with parachutes and gravity. One might argue that the thrill-seeking Olsen made his choice, knew the risks, and was entitled to gamble with his own life just like any other extreme sports enthusiast. Of course, that argument ignores how the entire population of Vulcan was relying on the Enterprise disabling Nero's planet-destroying machine. Star Trek's redshirts are traditionally unreliable and slow-witted, sure, but Olsen endangered an entire race purely because he did something that carried a very obvious and very high chance of death, and then died. An act of stunning stupidity is not the only thing that separates Olsen from the standard Star Trek redshirt. When the character first appeared as a member of the jumping party, the sight of an unfamiliar face rubbing shoulders with Chris Pine and John Cho gave an immediate signal that the newcomer was soon to die. Star Trek then dropped another big clue by having Olsen boldly proclaim in one of his precious few lines of dialogue, "I can't wait to kick some Romulan arse." Nothing screams redshirt like a character expressing excitement for combat with racially charged undertones. The redshirt trope is one of the most iconic and enduring traditions in Star Trek lore. Since the days of the original series, the term has come to signify expendable crew members, typically wearing red uniforms, who meet untimely deaths in the line of duty. Often, these characters are introduced only to be swiftly dispatched, serving as cautionary symbols of the dangers that await beyond the safe confines of the Starship Enterprise. But while many of these characters meet their ends in relatively predictable ways, being vaporized, suffocated, or obliterated by alien technology, J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot gave us what might be the most memorable and arguably the dumbest redshirt death in the entire Star Trek franchise. That unfortunate accolade goes to a relatively minor and forgotten character, Chief Engineer Olsen. A brief overview of Olsen's mission set within an alternate timeline, Abrams' Star Trek 2009, was a modern reimagining of the original series. This new cast of characters saw fresh actors stepping into iconic roles like Captain Kirk, Spock, Uhura, and Dr. McCoy. Amidst these familiar faces, the film introduces new ones, including the ill-fated engineer Olsen. Olsen is part of the Enterprise's team dispatched to prevent the Romulan mining vessel, the Narada, from destroying Vulcan with a massive drill. The mission is critical. Someone needs to parachute down from space onto the drill and sabotage it from within before it tears the planet apart. It's a high-stakes life-or-death scenario that requires precision, cool-headedness, and most importantly, adherence to safety protocols. Enter Olsen. Olsen's moment of glory. Or not Olsen, played by Greg Ellis, barely gets a few minutes of screen time before meeting his absurd fate. Alongside Kirk and Sulu, Olsen jumps from the Enterprise in a high-speed orbital skydive. It's an intense sequence, one that should have highlighted the skill and bravery of the Starfleet personnel involved. But instead, Olsen's decision-making almost immediately sets him up for failure. For one, Olsen decides to deck himself out in an entirely red spacesuit, as if to proudly advertise his redshirt status. While Kirk and Sulu take the mission seriously, Olsen appears overly enthusiastic, recklessly so. In fact, his enthusiasm leads to one of the most absurd deaths in modern Star Trek history. Ignoring safety protocols, Olsen's fatal flaw as Olsen descends toward the drill platform, he ignores all the rules of parachuting, teamwork, and common sense. He's overconfident, treating the mission like a joyride. His greatest misstep, however, is his failure to adjust his descent speed in time. While Kirk and Sulu are able to land with relative ease, Olsen, perhaps too caught up in the adrenaline rush, comes barreling down far too fast. But that's not the worst of it. Olsen has been entrusted with the explosives needed to sabotage the drill. For reasons that remain inexplicable, he decides to activate the charges while still in freefall. This one decision elevates his death from unfortunate to downright ridiculous. Seconds after arriving on the platform, Olsen's uncontrolled descent causes him to splatter against the drilling rig, instantly killing him and losing all the vital explosives in the process. The sight of Olsen's red-suited figure plummeting to his doom with explosives strapped to his back is both tragic and laughable. It's a bizarre mix of slapstick and sci-fi tension that leaves audiences stunned by the sheer absurdity of the moment. Why Olsen's death stands out as the dumbest, while Star Trek has no shortage of characters meeting untimely ends, Olsen's demise stands out because it feels so avoidable. Redshirt deaths are usually framed as noble sacrifices, unlucky crew members caught in situations beyond their control. But Olsen's death is different. It's the result of overconfidence, lack of preparation, and a complete disregard for protocol. In a universe where Starfleet prides itself on discipline and professionalism, Olsen's recklessness is a glaring anomaly. What makes his death even more frustrating is that the mission's success hinges on his contribution. Without the explosives, Kirk and Sulu are left scrambling to find an alternative solution. Olsen's failure isn't just a personal tragedy, it jeopardizes the mission and the lives of everyone involved. A missed opportunity for character development. One of the reasons Olsen's death resonates, for better or worse, is that it could have been a chance for the film to give more depth to its secondary characters. As an engineer tasked with a critical mission, Olsen could have been shown as a competent, albeit nervous, crewman thrust into a high-stakes situation. Instead, the film leans into the redshirt trope to deliver a quick and somewhat comedic death, robbing the audience of a more meaningful or heroic narrative arc. Had Olsen been given a few more moments of screen time, perhaps showcasing his engineering expertise or